When we think about working to survive, we first have to consider what the current business landscape looks like and how it impacts the employee experience. Now, over the past few years, workers everywhere have weathered countless disruptions, a global pandemic, widespread layoffs, and rising inflation. Now, these, coupled with dramatic changes in how, when, and where we work, have left many employees operating under a cloud of instability and uncertainty. And in this environment, workers find it increasingly difficult to see a future where development and growth are even possible. Many of them are simply working to survive. So, what does it mean to be just surviving in the workplace? Well, in our focus groups and interviews, we asked employees across industries what this experience looks like to them. And their answers, while kind of sad and disconcerting, were really insightful. Here are just some of the things that we heard. It's the paycheck, not the passion. You're just staying stagnant. You're on the verge of burnout and having the bare minimum and doing the bare minimum. So again, not a real positive sounding place. And in general, employees who are just surviving are employees who are just getting by. And sometimes that's financially, sometimes it's professionally. They feel overwhelmed, they feel undervalued, and they feel unfulfilled. And they feel trapped in a space that lacks opportunities for growth, development, or autonomy. Now, when we looked at surviving in the global workplace, what we found was equally concerning. When we asked respondents if they felt like they were surviving or thriving in the workplace, nearly a third of employees said that they were merely surviving rather than thriving. Now, if we step back and put this in the context of total rewards, what does that tell us? Well, first, there are clearly obstacles that are trapping people in place and holding them back from the growth and fulfillment that might otherwise come from your total rewards offerings. Second, and most importantly, it points us towards a troubling conclusion. A lot of your perks and incentives are going to have very little impact if employees are focused on just getting from one day to the next. For us to successfully align offerings with employee needs, we need to better understand the factors that are at work in survival. Now, as a result of our research, we were able to do just that. We established a model of elements that shape a surviving experience in the workplace. And this includes elements like financial insecurity, lack of opportunity or work-life balance, lack of resources, a sense of hopelessness about the future, and a lack of autonomy. Now, what we also realized is that there is a spectrum of experience here, and that some employees could be at the low end of surviving, while others are at the high end. And that is, for those who are in low surviving, these 6 elements are stronger or more immediate than for those in high surviving. Now, when we brought this model to the total rewards dilemma, we discovered key total reward offerings that directly address the needs of those in a state of surviving. And you can see those there on the right-hand side of the screen. What do employees really need to survive? And they are compensation, physical health benefits, and mental health benefits. Now, while this may sound like a simple finding, think of it this way. Rather than your total rewards program being, as we've said, kind of an endless buffet of options, it becomes instead a series of targeted offerings strategically optimized to meet specific employee needs. When we analyzed all of the secondary total rewards offering, and here we're looking at everything from pay incentives to health and well-being benefits, we found that almost nothing had a positive impact on the low surviving employee until we factored in an adequate or above average compensation. So as you can see in the table here, once basic compensation needs are met, and that would be that column over there to the far right, suddenly incentive offerings have a positive, if minimal, impact. Now, what's the important takeaway from this data? Well, for employees who are just surviving, until basic needs are met, and primarily those are compensation needs, nothing else is considered relevant. And if it's not relevant, it's not going to be effective.
Yeah. Well, I think this is really insightful, Daniel. Me also being biased myself as a member of the research team, but nonetheless. But I'm wondering, is it always about more money? Because I mean, if we're being honest here, many organizations aren't in a position to pay people more, especially now. So are there people doomed to be in survival mode if this is the case?
Well, and that's an excellent point. I'm glad you brought that up. And no, it's not always about the money. Basic compensation is critical for those that are in low surviving. But if we think back to the 6 points of that model that we showed a few minutes ago, um, compensation is only one factor or one part of the overall surviving equation. And for instance, an employee can be well paid, but they could be lacking in voice, autonomy, resources, and say opportunities for growth. In short, well paid employees can also be surviving. And as this focus group participant put it, if I'm not being heard, then I'm not going to be happy no matter how much money I make. It's just not going to be rewarding for me. For me, it's important to have that sense of belonging.
So in the end, it seems that surviving isn't just about one thing. It's really an interaction of a number of different factors.
Absolutely. And which is why it's so important for organizations to know their people. And this is a really critical point here. Surviving is going to look different for different employees in different industries and at different points in their career. So when you look at that kind of mix of all those different factors, it's not going to be like a one size fits all that everybody at this age or in this role or in this geographic location is going to either be surviving or thriving. It's critical that leaders make sure that they know their people, that they're keeping in touch, that they're having those one-to-ones and those types of meetings to really understand where they're succeeding and where there are those obstacles that are holding them back in that survive mode.